Okay, so you probably noticed the trend that we're doing our FIRE, which is Functional Integrated Resistance exercise. Release, stretch, and train. That's just how it goes. We're not leaving anything to chance. We're really being thorough with this process because corrective exercises are not only in the wheelhouse, but I think they're really important. So let's say that you did the shin box and you had trouble with internal rotation, which means that that leg that was back was what was holding you up. That was when I asked you, where did you feel, what did you feel, did it feel the same on both sides? You had trouble with this hip on one or the other side. So we're going to pretend that you had trouble with your left hip. Like you couldn't get vertical on this side, or you felt pinch, pain, pressure, whatever on this side. The release that we're going to do to help you with that is an external rotator, which is called your glute med. So the glute med point that you're going to want to get into, simplest way to think about it is, let's pretend like I was wearing Adidas pants and it really showed off the midline of my thigh, my lateral thigh. You're going to go from there and then you're going to go 3 finger widths back off of that line, and that's where the ball is going to go. So if it's here, I go, this is my midline, 3 fingers widths back, right there. You'll feel a nice little hypersensitive spot. That's exactly where you're supposed to be. The height as far as how high it's supposed to be, take this bottom hip bone, this top hip bone, about the midline, and then go back. So that's how high it's going to be. You're going to take this here, lay it on your side, or you can do it up against a wall. Find that spot. Same story, 3 slow breaths. 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. And then to give it a little bit of activity, you're going to gently do a bottoms up clam, 3 to 5 of those. So that's the release for the glute med, which will help you with that shin box if you have a lack of internal rotation. Again, have trouble with that back leg. Now we want to stretch it. So what we're going to do is put this knee in a little bit of internal rotation. You do that, it's going to come back. You're going to stay right there. So pretend like I am in a mirror. I want you to be able to see that foot. So if I'm dead on like this, I'm in a neutral hip. But if I can actually see that, which now you should be able to see my foot just a little bit, then I know that I'm in internal rotation of that hip, and that's how we want to start. The next part's pretty easy. You're going to take this ball, give it a little hug. You're going to translate forward. Again, that's going to clean that hip up a little bit. People get pinchy when they're in flexion like this is. The more that you get behind your body with that thigh, generally the less pinchy it is. So you're going to go like this. Inhale, exhale, and rotate back towards that back leg. Inhale. Exhale. Now in general, it's actually easier. That would never happen. I'm trying to show this so you can see with the camera. But in general, you would be like this, and that foot is really flat up against the wall, and there's no trouble with stability. So foot flat, out to the side just a little bit, grab that ball, exhale and rotate. So that's that stretch portion. The last thing is the train. So we don't really need to reinvent the wheel. We'll get this foam roller to help us into the exact position that we want. And what we want to do is be below 90 degrees. So this would be 90 degrees. I want you to be below. Start wherever is comfortable with that. And I don't want you to be stacked and kind of rolled back, because that means that your leg's going to be coming across your body. That can be pinchy as well. I want you to let that slide forward to open up that hip just a little bit. The rest is really easy. Bury this hand down into the ground. Inhale. As you exhale, drive that knee into the foam roller. Ankle up towards the ceiling. Nice and gentle. 3 to 5. Should clean up that shin box real nice. Now let's say you had trouble with the other leg, that when we were in that Shin Box position, you go like this. This was where you had trouble. You kind of couldn't get this down. It's sitting up big time. Now, one of the reasons why that sometimes happens, and something to factor into your thinking, is sometimes people's axis of rotation are just off. And off, that doesn't mean good or bad. It just means, if you look at a medical textbook, it'll say you should have 45 degrees of external rotation and 45 degrees of internal rotation. But some people have 65 degrees of external rotation and 25 degrees of internal rotation. There's nothing wrong with that. So you don't want to really chase that. That's just an axis shift, meaning what you're losing with internal, you're gaining with external. That just means that whole person's axis is shifted. So factor that into your thinking. But let's just say someone had a true external rotation physical impairment. They're not able to get into external rotation, and it's not like they have a lot of internal rotation on the other side. So they're here, that's where they're feeling it. Cool, so we're gonna use, for fire release, the Piriformis. Really good muscle, feels really good on a lot of people. So, you're here, you're going halfway between your sacrum and your greater trochanter, which again is that like bottom hip bone that we hit before, and you're gonna just go halfway in between the two. It's almost where a button would be on your pants. So right there is where we're gonna get it in. If you feel any nervy, you're not on it, you're on a sag nerve, that's not good. It'll hurt, but not in a good way. This should be a productive pain. So you're gonna come down here, get into that spot. And again, the reason we like our fireballs here, so this fireball is less dense than a lacrosse ball, and the black one is more dense than a lacrosse ball. So if you want something that's more dense than a tennis ball, but not as dense as a lax ball, go on our website and grab this. So here, then same thing. 3 slow breaths, 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, and then make it a little bit active. We'll do 3 to 5 of these little windshield wipers, 3 to 5 of these. That's a really comprehensive way to release that Piriformis. But now we gotta stretch it. So doing an active pigeon pose is probably the best thing. I'm gonna show it this direction, I might turn the other side of the end. So if this mat, if I was on a mat like this, I think the easiest way to really get a good stretch in that is to make sure that your knees are aligned. Some people won't tolerate that, some will. So what you're gonna do is put your hands like this, get your knee directly in between your hands so you can see the difference. Here, shin about 45 degrees. Some people won't tolerate that, and that's okay. Some people that won't be enough, and that's okay too. I'm a normal human, 45 feels pretty good. And then I'm taking this knee, and it's hard for you to see, but I'm taking this knee back, and then I'm shimmying it across, so it's in a direct line with my front knee. That already feels pretty charged up. Then I'm gonna just gently hinge in, big time. And then to make it dynamic, I'm gonna take this arm, thread it through, bring it back out. Thread it through, bring it back out. Couple of those, and then I'm gonna just gently pull myself a little bit deeper using the muscles on the front. Again, for 3 breaths. Throw some more dynamic on it, finish with whatever feels best. So that's how you're going to stretch that Piriformis. Now, my favorite training for this, to really get those muscles acclimated to their new range of motion, is kind of like 10 different names for this, but we'll call it a side air plank. That's the one that I probably say the most. So you're going to go into this position, and the diagonal side bridge position is really just a bridge that you decided to fall off this way. So if you can kind of get that orientation, your solid goal, I'll scoot back just a little bit. So you're here, you're gonna do a normal diagonal side bridge to push yourself up and forward, extend that top leg, and then you're gonna thread this hand through as your hips go down and back. Feel a nice little stretch in that glute, the back of the hip, and then push yourself back out. Come on back in. Back to the original position. You'll notice my hips are going down, back, and my top hip is covering my bottom hip. And you're gonna do anywhere between 3, 5, work yourself up to 10, 12 of these. It's a really great exercise that'll help you train those muscles that are holding you back for that Shin Box Plus.